Let's now get into a discussion. Introducing my guest this morning, 4 gentlemen, joined by Kimani Wamatangi, who's Senator Kiambu County. Thank you for joining us. We also have Dan Kazungu, Malindi Member of Parliament. Barack Muluka, newly appointed spokesperson for the Council of Governors. Congratulations. And we also have Chege Mwaura, beg your pardon, who is a County Assembly MCA Nairobi for Ngara Ward. Thank you all for joining us. Let's start with the latest hot story, which is about heavy packs, before we get to referendum matters. With the senator here with us, I would want to hear from you what inspired this push for more money to take home.
To begin with, let me set the record straight.
Yes.
Because that report was completely misrepresented.
Right.
The senators, and I'm a member of that committee. I sat in that committee. That committee sat 1 year, 2 months ago. It's not something current. Immediately after the elections, because as we all know, the position of senators did not exist. And so when we went to the House, we found ourselves without offices, without a structure to deliver services to the people, and a committee was formed so as to be able to discuss and make recommendations. The recommendations that were made by that committee was to find office space for senators. Bear in mind that senators have a very wide jurisdiction at the county level to make sure that they're facilitated to be able to deliver services to the people. Now, what the misrepresentation is on the report is the report that senators asked to be paid 2.4 million shillings
per month.
That's not factual. It is not right. That's not what the committee recommended. The committee did not at any one time discuss anything to do with the salaries of senators, other than enhancing the facilities that should be able to enable a senator to deliver services at the county level,
which includes offices. Are you saying right now you don't have offices?
After that, we were given offices in KICC, offices which were still inadequate, or they were very small, and senators were told that those offices are temporary. But the contentious issue was, because when we came in, we found structures that were commensurate to the jurisdiction of members of the National Assembly, who are representative of a constituency. And so the direction of that committee was to ensure that it is recognized that the senator requires, for example, like myself from Kiambu, I represent 12 constituencies, and I'm supposed to not only be present, but also be alive to the issues of all those 12 constituencies.
So you need more money to be able to traverse this 12
You certainly require more facilitation to be able to do that. But about salaries, the Senate committee is fully aware that the body that is mandated by this constitution and by law to deal with matters salary is the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
Right.
And let me say without prejudice that I think that reporting fell fairly short of the threshold of good journalism, because it bears, even a media house, when
so
that kind of report comes. So you're saying this is
not the report that is going to PSC? I'm sure I'm pushing you on this one, but before we move. There
is absolutely nothing about salaries in the report that will be going to the PSC.
But there's something about 168,000 shillings that should be paid for rent for those governors from Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, other counties.
Absolutely, that was,
which you already have offices. So you want to go out and rent out these offices for this amount of money and still get more money to get other offices, 4-wheel drives, personal emoluments. Which part is false?
Excuse me, let me explain that to you very well, and to the people of this country, because the people of the country need to understand what is it that the senators were agitating for. Like I've said, I represent 12 constituencies. Every single of those constituencies needs to have an opportunity and a place where they can come and bring their issues or their grievances or their matters to the senator. Now, if a senator is locked in only one place, for example, in an office in Nairobi, then you cannot be able to deliver services. And look, for example, at the case whereby, like my good friend here, a member of the National Assembly, he has got an office. He's got facilities which are even provided for.
Okay.
And so that was the drive, like I've said, as I end my issue on that, is that the report that senators asked for 2.4 million shillings to be paid a salary is completely inaccurate. It is completely
Let's get the contribution from the other guest, Member of Parliament. What are your thoughts on this? Because now we're seeing he also being brought in, and he's saying that, yeah, you have all of these facilities to be able to enhance your service to your constituency members.
Well, I'm interesting that my good brother here, Senator Matangi, is pushing the back to me, but it's all good. At least now we're getting the real picture from what he's saying. But
are we really?
Well, from him, but I have some questions. Yes, I do have offices. I have an office in Nairobi. I have an office in Malindi. But and he's saying there's no monetary figures in the report. That's what we're gathered from him. But listening to the deputy
it tells a different story.
He says that the report was there. It's only that it's been linked. It's been linked to the public, and maybe we need clarity there. But having said that, I have no problem with senators having offices in the counties. I think that's fair. But I have question marks about some of the proposals that we're reading, and maybe we're going to get the true picture at some point. But if you start telling me that you need 400,000 to buy tea, that is that's I don't know. That's like what for that? Because I sit in my constituent offices, and when people come to see me as an MP, the issues they have, I mean, they don't have time for tea. They don't even have time for water. You listen to the issues, you see what you have to do with them. It's about projects, about the issues, about school fees, about health issues. Nobody has the time to have tea, and I can stay there all day. Nobody will say chai iko wapi. So I think some of the things that are coming through.
So they're pushing it
exactly. And one more thing before I go. He's clever. He's saying this is not about such salaries, and that's okay. That's the SRC to look into. But when you say you want 2.4 million to buy furniture every year, which means the next 3-4 years you have spent what, almost 7 million, changing furniture every year. Look, 2.4 million is two, transformers.
Is it every year or after every 5 years?
I mean, we need clarity, my dear brother senator there, because if we're going to be seen to be getting to public service to this money from people, from the public, I think I come from the private sector, where when you want money, you must justify why you need that money. I think that's very good, and we must all be justifying why we need this money from the public, from the Kenyan taxpayer, to do what the thing that we need to do. Okay. So maybe we need clarity first before we can comment exhaustively.
Let's hear from Muluka. I'll come back to you so you can talk to what they have to say.
Thank you. I think the senators are going to have to decide whether they want to own this proposal totally, or whether they want to reject it. They cannot talk from two ends of the mouth concurrently. That we have got the deputy speaker on the one side who is angry, not because of
what the report says,
what it says, but because it has come out. He says that it has come out at a time when it should not have come out. And he goes on to say to the journalists who always take the beating whenever people don't get their act right, that whether you like it or not, we are going to have it our way. He was quoted on a camera saying it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. There's an attitudinal problem here. It's an attitudinal problem that pertains to public funds, to the public itself, and to journalists, and so on and so forth. But that said and done, there's an extent to which some of the things within reasonable proportions would begin making sense. And it is true, as the two elected leaders say, that there would be requirement for some kind of facilitation. I'd like to see my senator across the county, but within reasonable proportions, and that is a task that is best left to the salaries review commission
Yes.
that then looks at that in the context of what else is possible.
Okay, Maura?
Yeah, thank you. I would want to take it from probably a different angle.
Yes.
That Article 96 of the Constitution clearly spells out the role of the Senate. And for me, they think there's a small misunderstanding of their role, because their role is not so much to represent the Mwananchi down there, because the assemblies at the counties and the National Assembly does that through the wards in the county and the constituencies.
Yes.
What the role of the Senate should be is to represent the county governments in the national discourse. And therefore, I think that if there are offices to be created, then they should be within the context of the county governments, so that where you have probably the governor giving space, offering that service to their senator so that they can understand. But as we speak now, senators have, they rarely go to they rarely or never go to the county assemblies to understand what the issues there are. They are always in these fights with the governors, so they don't even know what the issues at the counties are, so that they can now take them to the national discourse. So I think their role is not, because we will be over-representing people. This same Mwananchi is being represented at the county through the assemblies, and then represented at the national through the MPs. Now the Senate is supposed now to capture all those voices and take them, not again to come and represent the Mwananchi again. I think that's where the disconnect is. Okay. But I think moving forward, they have a few issues that I think would be, because their role also is representation. If we are all working, especially at the county level, towards the good of the Mwananchi, I think those offices which I think are valid should now, probably the county government should be the ones creating space or giving that service. When they're talking about the facilitation to move around the county, then I think the governor should be the one who's taking it upon himself to ensure that his senator is touring around with the green plates also, to know how the counties are happening, so that when he goes back to Nairobi, he actually understands it from the county government's point.
Yeah. So Senator, first you have the Deputy Speaker. He says there's nothing wrong. So you're arguing from two different ends, as we've had. He said the only issue is that it has leaked, that now we've all gotten to know about it, and we're seeing a lot of outrage following that. But what do you have to say from what we heard from the
thank you. Let me first set the record straight and clear a few of the issues that have been raised by my colleagues here. First, by my fellow legislator from the county assembly, because the role of the Senate and the role of the county assembly are actually roles that are intended to serve the same purpose. We are all legislators, and I would be very surprised, my colleague from the county assembly, if you argued that as a representative of Ngara, that you have no role in going to Ngara, that you are comfortable in sitting in the city hall where your offices are and never go to Ngara, and you're able to effectively represent the people. That is not possible. Yeah. So the senator requires absolutely to be on ground, in touch and alive to all the issues that are that are happening in the county, in every corner, to be able to offer effective services, because you don't want to pay somebody the salary of a senator and he doesn't deliver. Now, secondly, when what have been raised by my brother here and the honorable member on the clarity of the issue. One, I want to say without blinking, because I'm a member of that committee. So when I comment from the position of an insider, a person who sat in that committee. We never at one single time discussed anything to do with salaries, and in that report, when it comes out, there is nothing about salaries. Two, if it is about figures, the issue is about figures. If you talk about office rent, it is paid in monetary figures. If you talk about all the facilitation, it is in monetary figures. So there has to be...
Why do you need Gazlas when in the past we have seen moves to ensure we don't have
there has to be... I'll answer that.
Okay.
There has to be, a figure attached to whatever facilitation. But, and it is important that we also avoid commenting sensationally. When we say that senators are saying they want to be given 2.4 million of renewable furniture every year, that is wrong. It isn't right. It is not factual. So it is important that as we make our comments, based on what is factual in that particular report. What the recommendation was at that particular time is that because the senator's office never existed, that indeed senators require an office that is going to be furnished here in the capital and at the county level. And once we know the rules of
So
the
you want
of
two
Parliament,
offices? Just get clarity, since you're here to clarify.
that is what I want to clarify.
Yes.
Every member of Parliament, be it a senator or a member of the National Assembly, has an office in Nairobi. All. And we have offices in the counties or at the constituency. That is standard procedure. And so what we were saying and what we are saying is very clear, that those offices for senators require to be there, situated especially in the county headquarters, if possible in the constituencies also, so that we can have effective legislation and effective
and to be furnished
representation.
after how long?
The rule of Parliament is simple. Once furniture has been bought for an office, it lasts the entire term. That is the way it is. So there was no provision or any recommendation or suggestion that furniture should be renewed on a yearly basis. That is absolutely, sensationalist. It's not a fact.
What about the guzzlers?
Guzzlers, guzzlers, I guess, is another term for a four-wheel drive vehicle.
Yes.
So I'll give it its functionality definition. The reason, for example, and I would give a very effective example. I was in Turkana the other day, conducting some parliamentary work. And the size of Turkana is, for example, indeed about 10 times the size of my own county, Kiambu. And you can imagine the senator for that county requires to traverse the entire of that county.
But he surely does not need to do that in a day.
Now, tell me, if you tell the senator for Turkana, or the senator for Makueni, or even the senator for Kiambu, or the senator for Kilifi County, that he is going to traverse all those places in a Toyota Corolla, you're not being
Why
realistic.
Not a Toyota? Because
you're telling that person, you're telling that senator
what is wrong
that we are going to pay you. You'll tell that senator, we are going to be paying you $1 million to lie that I went to represent the people here. It is not practical.
Shouldn't the focus be to improve the infrastructure so that Toyota can easily move from one point to the other, instead of buying these huge vehicles, which in essence will still need repair.
Absolutely.
And at the end, you're shooting yourself.
Absolutely. But you know what we would be arguing then? We would be arguing that when we take our tourists to the game park, let us make all those roads and abolish those vehicles that we used to transport our tourists.
Let's hear from Muluka.
Yeah, I think that is hyperbole. It's overblown. First, I think senators need to engage a lot more with the county government. They do not necessarily have to keep traversing the entire constituency, as it were. And it calls for, again, a re-examination of mutual attitudes in the engagement between the Senate and the county government. So far, what we have seen is that our Senate has tended to behave in a fashion that suggests that, in fact, county government, especially the governors, are their adversaries, and that their role is to take them on all the time, instead of having more dialogical engagement that they get to know through some forum at the county government level what is happening, and on the special occasions that they need to visit some of the places within the county, that would also happen. And I agree completely that we need to be talking about the infrastructure, something that a lot more people are going to benefit from, rather than isolated individuals in special custom-made vehicles coming and dashing across once and they disappear, leaving the rest of the people to their regular predicament.
Okay. Comments before? Yes, you wanted to clarify that you did not say.
Yeah. I think he misunderstood me when I said that the role of all of us as elected people is to represent the mwananchi. If we have offices at the ward belonging to the MCAs and also others at the constituency levels, surely I don't think it would be so bad for me as a member of Ngara, and the Senate of Nairobi wants to visit guys in Ngara, that I leave my office, that he can operate for the day, because it's not a daily thing. If he wants to do it at a constituency level, I don't think the MPs would be having a bigger problem, having the guy meet his the county guy so that he can get it from the ground. What I'm saying, and even at the county level, if the governors have already bought these cars that are supposed to be working in the counties. If the senator, say, of Kilifi arrives in Malindi town, what is so hard if they have the capacity to transverse the executive committee member to assign a vehicle that will be assigned to the senator, and to be able to take him to, at that level, so that he doesn't just again start another bureaucracy, but also mesh in with what the county governments are doing. Because at the end of the day, we are representing the same people.
That was precisely the proposal. That was precisely the proposal, that a four-wheel drive vehicle is made available at the county level for the senator, such that when the senator comes, absolutely, that was the proposal. But you see, whether it is going to be provided for by the county government, whether it is going to be provided for by the PSC, still becomes an expense. But that was the proposal. You see, and what my friend here and colleague said, I think requires proper straightening out. That senators have presumed that governors are the adversaries. That is the reverse of the truth. Because if you look at the short history we have in the relationship between senators and governors, every time when senators have gone out to do the right thing, it is the governors who have dashed to court all the time. Every time when we said, let's have this system, come to the Senate, make this report, they dash to court. Now who is an adversary of who? So I think the spokesperson for the Council of Governors need to have also that cleared out. So that
imagine when you say doing the right thing, you don't have you cannot say all that you do is right, other people's right is wrong. They have a right to have their rights. That's why they're moving forward, which is the process that is envisioned in the Constitution. If you disagree, get an arbiter.
Fine, but the issues that have been there, for example, in the short history, and we all know, we are alive to it, it's still there. Matters started running offhand, and I don't know, I would not want to remove my conscience fully from what is happening in trying to disparage senators now and portray them as though they're just out for money with this fight that we are having on the issue of county development boards. But because immediately when we started saying that we must hold all public officers to account, once you receive public money, if you have received 100 shillings, you must account for it. And you must be willing to be called. So
the governors are behind the leaking of this.
I don't know, but I tell you, there has to be
this calls for.
Let me take
let him reply, then we'll come to you. And just very quickly.
Yes, it calls for a reply because this erroneous impression being created and stated repeatedly that governors don't want to be accountable. A lie, when it's told far too often, starts gaining traction, especially when it's being told from high places by people who are honorable. It starts being believed. If you look at governors, county government, there's no institution in this country that has got more oversight authorities over it than county government. That if you look at governors, there are two streams. The first stream is political. That there is the county assembly, which has got oversight, authority and capacity over county government, over the governors. There's the National Assembly, there is the Senate, all this maintaining that authority. Then you can talk about the professional stream, that you have got the controller of budget. You're not going to get further allocation before you have even explained how you have used previous funds allocated and received. That there is the Office of Auditor General, there is the Commission for Revenue allocation. All these are keeping oversight. Now what's happening is that Senate wants to jump the gun, and they are sort of interested in bullying and humiliating people rather than establishing what is happening.
Absolutely not.
When people have, you can send your deputy, you can send your assignees or other colleagues, and they should get there with the books.
Okay.
And the books should be opened and be looked at. But these good ladies and gentlemen will say, we don't even want to start looking at the books. What we want is to see the material body of so-and-so before us, so that we can run you down.
And we will get to that shortly, Kazungu, before we move away, because the initial issue on these senators' parks. Yeah, before we
No,
move
no.
on to make
I
contribution.
think I want to take a different view because my brother Barack is trying to be too good to govern as well. I think when it comes to the issue of the issue senators are going through in terms of oversight in county governments, I think I want to side with my brother here because look, I'm a member of the National Assembly representing Kilifi County, and I will tell you, so many members of the National Assembly have never sat down with the governors to do consultative work. A lot of the work happening in counties, and my constituency is part of county, you realize, you see a member of parliament doing a project that a governor also do the same thing. So we've never been having a session where we can sit down to look at this thing exhaustive together and plan for the counties together. So and that's why the Senate came with the county government amendment bill to set up the boards. I think that, to me, that was, I'm not interested in driving counties, for example, but I just want to see whether we can work together seamlessly for projects. So they have a point there. So, and let's not be too good to governors, because we know some of them have done things which are not good. And I think the institution that really needs to be oversighting county governments is the Senate, and of course the county assembly. But I have an issue with county assembly, because the problem with the setup we have to, and that's what MCA should be looking right now, is to come with something that's almost like the PSC that we have in the National Assembly, so that they can be paying their own salaries, their own parks, and anything, the facilitation, because today they're paid through county governors. The governors are paying them, and he who pays the piper
Dictates.
goes to tune. So you see most county reps cannot effectively oversight governance.
And let's talk more about oversight and a number of issues that have been coming from across the different groups. With MCAs, the issue has been, you've been seen to be the rise of the MCAs and going for the governors with the impeachments and witch hunt. It has also been alleged in some cases. So how is it you're conducting that role, your oversight mandate, without necessarily making it boil down to just going after an individual and malicious, kind of processes instead of what is enshrined in the law?
Thank you. I think I want to pick it up from what he said. Oversight is a critical function for us to be able to attain service. If there is an issue with a specific office in the county government, then of course these are the modalities of how you're going to deal with it. There is nowhere in the county government where it says if something happens, especially in the nature of the governor, that you slap and you say, forget about it, sorry, let's proceed. It's clearly an impeachment procedure. Now, the good beauty about the Constitution is that once the impeachment process starts, it ends at the Senate. So if it was a bit frivolous or some things were a bit not done up to scratch, then the Senate is actually there to see through the lenses without the murkiness of a specific county. So I think it's a self-purifying system whereby if you didn't get a very good chance here, you also have a good chance at the national center, which is the Senate. And I think as at that point, we are trying to do good. And we have 47 counties, and I don't think the governors who faced impeachments are actually less than 10%. So I think it's something. Then secondly, let me finish, Barack. When it comes to the issue of oversight, a critical element is the independence of the county government, of the assemblies, to be able to do the oversight function. Currently, even our accounts are actually within the county treasury. So now it's so difficult to be able to oversight somebody who's actually okaying your payments. And that's why we are saying one of our issues, even if you had in Bomas, was that we need independence right from our accounts, that once the budget has been passed, it needs to be created at the central bank, that the assemblies have, as he says, a PSC or whatever. So
you don't want those ceilings?
That's another issue altogether, which is the issue of ceilings is illegal. Let's start from that.
It's illegal.
If we can just take on that issue briefly, I think the issue that has been raised by my colleague there in the county assembly is really important, and we in the Senate have actually made a proposal. We'll be coming up with a bill that will allow or facilitate county assemblies to have an independent account running system, just like the way other arms of government have, so that they can have the freedom to determine what they do themselves and also have that authority to oversight. But having said that, we cannot remove the element of fiscal responsibility from county assemblies. That one cannot be removed.
And there are huge concerns about their spending.
Because whether we give them the authority and the independence, which we shall give them, we must also say to them, when we are giving you this money, you must spend it responsibly. Within this arrangement, within this formula, and you can only spend to this extent. That must be done. If we do not do that, then we'll be acting irresponsibly.
All right,
I wanted to take on something that's very important here, that was raised by my brother, very briefly, something that was raised by my brother here, Muluka. Because you heard what he said, that the Senate is trying to jump the gun and call governors just to see their body.
That's what I'm going.
And I want to, let me just take on that. It's important. Because as the spokesperson for the Council of Governors, it is important for Bana Muluka to be speaking from a point of information. You see, all those bodies that he has mentioned, from the CRA to the Auditor General's office and to the Controller of Budget, all those oversight bodies that control or overlook what is being done in expense of the money by the county government eventually comes through a funnel and ends in Parliament. And so when we are sitting down to look at those reports, we are looking not at the reports of the assemblies or the reports of the county governments, but the report of the Auditor General, also married with the report of the Controller of Budget. So when we are asking questions which have been raised by the Office of the Auditor General and saying, I am not satisfied with the way this amount of money has been.
And so the governors must appear before.
And so, let me clear that. That's important. You see, we will be setting an extremely dangerous precedent if we say that the person who is mandated by the Constitution to be called and given the authority of being the chief executive officer of a county, and who still, and as you've heard my brother there saying, that indeed, even now, some of the county assemblies have not had their budgets passed because the governors have not okayed those budgets. That is how powerful they are. And then you're saying...
So in short, you have, as senators, the power to summon them when you feel
the Constitution says that Parliament has the authority, constitutional mandate to summon everybody and anybody in this country.
Okay. Let's give him the right response, because we saw the governors, some of them not wanting to
Yes, let's also be heard. Talking about the auditor, we know that the auditor takes place in a period of 6 months from the end of the last financial year. The first one has just ended, so I do not know which Auditor General's report the Honorable Senator is talking about.
They audited up to July.
The periodic, okay. And if we are talking about July, the other year, then we are talking about a period of 3 months, and we also are aware that the funds got to the county governments between July and September last year. So I do not know what he's talking about. But accountability, if you look at the entire public finance chapter in the Constitution,
yes,
it starts with accountability, and people want to be accountable, but there are also procedures. Let's face the truth. What is happening is that senators who are supposed to exist to protect the interest of county government, most of the time have lost focus on that. In fact, what you are seeing is that they are jostling for space, either fighting against the National Assembly or they are fighting against the governors, looking for relevance. And yet their relevance is prescribed in the Constitution, that they are there to protect the
But
interest.
why should governors appear before them when summoned to account or talk about the discrepancies that are being
summoned
raised?
to account,
the cabinet secretary appear. Why not governors?
May I be heard?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, he has had his chance, and we were quiet.
Sure.
When you ask for accountability, what you want to see are the books. What you want to see is the explanation. And it's no more audit practice that I will send my relevant officers with the relevant books. When you have looked at the books and you are not satisfied with what the books are saying, then you can say, Barack, you must appear here personally, because there are issues here that require your personal answering. But we are talking about bookkeeping figures that do not lie, that you want to engage with, and that after you have engaged with
it's good to hear Barack,
books,
but you see,
may we
also,
be heard.
Let him finish.
Because when I was talking, I was just quiet, like a good gentleman.
Why would we be saying that
Senator, let him finish.
You were just quiet.
Senator, let him finish.
May we also be heard in the same
Briefly, yes.
nice manner. That when you have looked at the books and you've listened to the explanation and you are not satisfied, then you bring in the governor. And these matters have been taken even to court. And
the court ruled against.
The senators are not happy about this. And the court said you should not summon governors frivolously.
So you're saying there are officials in the county that could first appear before the Senate to answer those questions.
Yes,
in the event the Senate is not satisfied, then summon the government.
You see, our problem is that, why are we trying to create some demigods? People who have come to the public to ask for votes,
the point is about
to be elected to go and, excuse me.
That it's about,
so it's a supremacy issue.
It's about supremacy.
Because why wouldn't
it's
you
not about the figures.
a report or allow for an official from the county government to come and address the concerns you have?
Fine. That's and this is the issue. This is the answer.
Yes.
Before that report comes to Parliament from the Auditor General's office, first the Auditor General goes to the county, and then he talks to those officials. He goes to the county assembly. He goes to the accounting officers, and he asks questions, and he gives 3 months to get answers. It is only after he doesn't have answers that's when he brings those queries to Parliament. So that system and process has already been exhausted.
Okay, so it's just the governor left.
So at that point, the chief executive officer, and I want Ms. Muluka to also clear this out.
Yes.
If we are saying that if funds are sent to a ministry, for example, any ministry that you think of, and all the internal mechanisms of finding out whether those funds have been prudently, according to the Constitution, spent, and then we create a loophole or an excuse that the person who is mandated by the Constitution, who is the cabinet secretary, to oversee the expenditure of those funds can use an excuse not to come and give answers straight, then we are cutting corners.
Okay.
And that's
Before
what
we go on break, what do you say to that, Muluka?
I don't think we are cutting corners. What he has said, of all the things he has said, the most important thing for people to note out there, he has said we are creating demigods. It's about supremacy. It's about people asserting themselves and telling them, come before me, sit before me, kneel.